The path of not being a plan B. Married for 20 years. I've always enjoyed booze, but it started becoming a real problem after our first son was born about 13 years ago. The drinking caused many unnecessary arguments, and I was the typical selfish drunk, never malicious or abusive, just selfish. In Feb of 2018, my wife told me she was deeply unhappy as I was never around and argumentative when I was, and kicked me out of the house. After doing what I could to change for her and impressing her with the changes, I moved back in December 2018. Things went very well for the next few months, even though she caught me drinking a couple of times, which I had promised not to do. July 2019, on vacation I drank more one night than I had in probably years and ended up having a huge fight that caused a rift that never healed. By Sept I started drinking again regularly and pretty much withdrew from family life, escaping her resentment from the vacation and all the other usual life stresses. End of Sept she told me that I had crept back to the same old patterns, was never going to change, and she was going to move on without me, and declared her intention to divorce. Shortly after that I had my rock bottom moment, when I realized clearly that I had no control over drinking and had lost one of the most valuable things in my life as a result. Without knowing what a 180 was back then, I started on it. I started attending AA, started exercising again, and started meditation classes. I was determined to change for me this time around, because it obviously didn't work the first time when I tried to change for her. We are still living in the same house. I am moving out end of Jan, and she has noticed a huge difference. I am an active listener, always out at AA meetings, making and cleaning all meals. I barely cleaned before, and am present and enthusiastic for the family. I stopped asking about our relationship weeks ago when I realized that those conversations were going nowhere. I haven't touched booze for 2 months and my cravings for it are surprisingly low, I think partly because I am determined to take control of my life. She has slowly moved from wanting her own space to wanting to spend a lot of time with me, talking, meditating, which she has done for years, watching TV together. She has called me a best friend and soulmate, but always combined with it that it is too bad it didn't happen soon enough to save our marriage. She has indicated that even after we separate, she hopes we can spend meaningful time together. A couple of nights ago, discussing the logistics of separation, in a calm, mature fashion without any anger, I asserted to her that if it was her intention to divorce me, I'd like to do it quickly. She was caught off guard, as she was used to my old habits of pleading and manipulation until the bitter end, and after shedding a few tears she told me that she still thought that divorce is where we were headed, but she was less sure than she first was. She quite understandably stated, "I don't know if I can ever get to a place where I can trust you again." I responded to her that I don't blame her for feeling that way, and to let me know if she decided finally on divorce so that I could do final grieving, move on. So, it looks like we are headed for an extended separation rather than the certain divorce that she initially declared she wanted, but divorce is still well in the picture. I've been doing IC throughout this whole ordeal, and we were doing MC up until our split, but she says there is no point in going anymore. I guess by posting my side so people who may have had similar experiences, or who recognize the patterns in the story, I know the correct answer is keep up the positive changes. I intend to, regardless of outcome. I love my new life and even think it was worth the end of my marriage to get to where I am today. I guess I wanted to ask if there is any advice out there to improve my chances to possibly save my marriage. I am determined to stay the course and do it for myself, but as we all know, wrestling with these painful feelings is not easy, especially without the booze to numb them. I do truly and deeply love my wife and realize this in a whole new way because of sobriety and mindfulness, which makes the separation and likely divorce even harder. As much as I want her back, I realize I have to focus on me and nurture this newfound moment that I have found to grow into the man I've always wanted to be. AA and meditation are the two things helping me the most right now, an understanding and supportive community, and through meditation the training to sit with painful and stressful emotions without having to blot them out. Mindfulness is also helping me cherish kids again in a way I haven't in years. Update: the last month has been great relationship-wise. She has said all of the following. I can't bear thinking about you with another woman. I love you. The chances of us working are definitely not zero. If you want to do any renovations on your new place, you can come back and stay here for a couple of weeks. As above, I continue to do what I consider a customized 180 for my situation. Focused on improving myself, staying sober, being emotionally vulnerable without being a doormat, cleaning around the house, making meals, taking interest in her interests. All of the stuff I didn't do in our marriage. She has been amazed at the change and has stated that she believes I have really turned things around, and even trusts that the new me will stick. Last night I thought I made a mistake. After a wonderful evening together, at the end of the night I asked if I could kiss her. She told me that this wasn't a fairy tale, that we were in the middle of separating, and told me how disappointed she was that I was slipping back on the promise I gave her to give her space. I asked her exactly how she feels about me. I know, another mistake, and she said she didn't know, and that it would take a long time for her to process our failed marriage, and that she really didn't know if she could ever allow herself to become physically intimate with me again. She also said how much she enjoys spending time with me, and that she was prepared to spend a year trying to figure out her feelings before moving on to try out other romantic interests. I know how hard it is for a woman to make the choice to leave, and that for many women there is no reversing that. I guess I have to live with that. So, I will be moving out in a month's time. I want to make the most of this time. I guess I placed too much hope in the closeness I've felt with her over the last few weeks, and tried a romantic overture, which was obviously the wrong move. Today she was quite sympathetic, not at all angry over last night, and even stated, "You know I really like you, but as a roommate." I fear I may have reset whatever she may have been actually thinking, whatever that was, and that she'll be a little more careful to keep distance. So over the course of January, how can I maximize the time I spend with her? The changes I am making for myself are real, and for me, and I am very proud of myself. I'm not going to turn back to who I was, regardless of what happens. That is the big win in this, no matter what. That being said, I obviously haven't totally detached myself from her. She is the love of my life, and she knows that although the changes I am making are authentic, that I am still trying hard to win her back. I just gave her a big reminder of that, unfortunately. The other thing is financial separation. I have purchased a few rental properties over the years and have told her I'll do the right thing and split them 50-50 with her. She, on the other hand, makes a much bigger salary than me and says she does not want to pay salary equalization or child support. I argued and we got into one of the two tense arguments we've had since she announced her original intention to divorce. Given I want so badly to reconcile, how can I properly address this without it becoming a big emotional divide for us? I don't want to give up hope right off the bat though. Why would she offer that there is a chance for us, when at first, she said she wanted a divorce, case closed? Would it be prudent for me to provide her with a timeline I am comfortable with, like 6 months? I can totally see that it would be several times more painful to wait in purgatory only to have to go through the grieving process anyway. AA has made a world of difference for me. I am still in early days, 3-month chip, but feel like the changes happening in me are for good, although I won't take that for granted. I need to stay vigilant. I am meditating daily, surrendering my pride, and being open and honest with my wife, which has absolutely shocked her. I am genuinely taking interest in her, and feel present, engaged, and caring. Basically, she has said she loves who I have become, and if she met me for the first time would certainly fall in love with me, but that our history may make it impossible for her to ever be physically intimate with her again. She would feel too awful. She has made me no promises but has said that there is a chance she might feel differently with time. I take personal responsibility for the ruin our marriage has become, especially after the second chance that I blew. I am willing to live in purgatory for a time. I need the time anyway to prove these changes to myself before I can enter into a relationship with anyone else anyway. I am just not certain how long that might be. Whether she will be willing to attend a meeting, I am doubtful at this point. As you point out, I need to place her needs above mine at this point. Cannot be selfish, needy, as opposed to vulnerable, which she greatly admires, and give her the time I feel I can. I am also working on forgiving myself, and there will certainly be a point that I will tell her I must move on. Above all else, I need to work on and stay mindful and sober. I cannot bear the thought of it now, but know if I do the work and come out the other side single, there will be a time in the not-too-distant future I can be happy again and build a relationship from scratch with the emotional openness and sobriety I have been acquiring. The attempted kiss pretty much negated all of my previous efforts. What was I thinking? She's gone from intimate emotional closeness to acting very clear that our situation is permanent. She says is not ruling out reconciliation, but that it is far in the future, if at all. Well, just want to say I appreciate everyone's advice here. I felt I was so close and then blew everything with one impulsive action. I guess that is how life works sometimes. The good news is that I feel myself disengaging from her. It is tough and comes with very uncomfortable feelings, but I know I will get there. After all is said and done, I have my sobriety and a positive outlook I have not had in many years. I saw our MC one-on-one yesterday and she said that I need to forget about relationship with W or anyone else for that matter and focus on recovery. She said it would be a long time before W would likely be able to trust my new sober self, and that would provide a lot of time for her to heal and myself to grow. She said that, knowing us both well, she was hopeful that a reconciliation could take place down the road, but said I had to do my best to push that out of my mind for now, get a sponsor and home group, and make my new growth mindset permanent. Yesterday we broke the news to the children that we were separating and that I would be moving out at the end of the month. They of course took it hard, but it went as well as could be expected. W told the children that she has never gotten along better with me and very much wanted to develop that friendship, if I was okay with it. Later that night when we were debriefing the conversation, she told me that she really enjoys spending time with me and didn't want to lose out on our newfound connection after I move out. She also said she felt she could not be completely real with me until after I moved out and she felt she had space. She also told me that I would be a total catch for any woman and expected that I would find someone else sooner than she would. It makes me both happy and sad to hear that, because she is obviously thinking about me moving on. I told her that I would be focused on recovery and our growing friendship, but that I didn't want to crowd her after I moved out, and she told me that she didn't think I could. So, all of that seems like good news. Although she still hasn't returned to the level of intimacy she had before I asked to kiss her, I don't expect she will until after I move out. She also wants to see a movie with me this weekend, but wanted to be clear we would go as friends. We're also finalizing family travel plans to Mexico in the spring and Cali for next Christmas. She brought up finances again and told me that she really didn't think it would be fair that she shares part of her salary with me. She told me that she held down her high-paying job and was the primary caregiver for both of our children when they were young, while I pitched in only a lot in times of sobriety, but mostly little, and pretty much played video games and drank in my free time. This is true. I countered that all of our rental properties, 2 commercial buildings and a fourplex, were my initiative and my effort, and that she shouldn't expect to receive 50 over 50 there but not expect that I would look for salary equalization and child support. She brought in the majority of the money, while I made and tended our investments and grew our equity significantly. She told me that she could live with some child support, but then countered that both of my parents are wealthy and hers were not. Also true. I am not a fan of this line of argument but kept it to myself to avoid arguing. At this point I told her I would think about it all but didn't want to commit to anything without a mediation process, which seems to be the way to go for couples in Canada who get along well and avoids lawyers. I keep reminding myself that I am better off now than if she hadn't ended our marriage, but I feel more in love with her than ever, so I'm trying hard to just sit with these hard feelings and act as detached as possible, but still meet her at her desired level of emotional intimacy. I am also reminding myself that I would eventually be happy without her as well. It is just not what I want right now. The single biggest thing I am amazed at is how much attention and interest I can take in the small things in life now, things I could never tolerate with an alcoholic mindset. This has impressed her perhaps most of all. A quick update. We are once again emotionally intimate, and she has expressed several times how amazed she is at my changes. The EAOM continues, but she has said she will make no decisions until April or May at the earliest, maybe later than that. She offered that information to me unsolicited. She told me she does not wish to give me any hope, but that she is going to try to reset the pain associated with our marriage. Our 10-year-old keeps asking her why she is not giving me another chance given my behavior changes, and I think this is starting to sink in a bit. I am still living in the same house until the end of the month and am calm and detached most of the time but start going nutty when I see her using her phone. I play it cool, but how can I calm myself down on the inside? I joined a dating site just to get myself out there and start building up my mojo and confidence a bit. Is it too early for me to go on a few dates if that comes about? I am openly discussing my life without her and how excited I am to start fresh on my own and build my own life. This seems to draw some interest from her and has opened up a lot of conversations. I am trying for real to detach completely, but some days are better than others. We went to MC but it didn't make much difference. One things though are that she agreed to go to a 2-day seminar at the local health network about the scars left behind by living with an addict. I am hoping this provides her with some perspective in which she might be able to understand and forgive me for who I was. My W initially thought we were headed for divorce, but thanks to the 180 hedged her bets. Basically, she has said, our separation is permanent. We are splitting assets and one of us is moving out. I'm moving out at the end of the month into one of our rental properties. When I ask her if she considers it that final, why don't we get a divorce, she says only that the door is still open a crack for reconciliation, but it is only a crack, and uses the excuse of her benefits still covering me. I kind of think she thinks of our situation as a divorce, minus the final paperwork. I have to be honest here, being a recovering alcoholic and starting to do the steps has made me realize just how much I deprived her of a loving and emotionally engaged husband. The other night we were looking into each other's eyes during a pause in a conversation, and we just kept staring. She started crying, saying that no man had ever looked at her that way before, and that during our marriage I had barely looked at her, period. This made me realize just how badly I mistreated her emotionally, and the biggest shock to me now is that she bothered to stay with me for 20. We both got married young as strong Baptists with the belief marriage was for life no matter what, so I guess that kind of sadly carried me this far. I think she is wavering now because I had to surrender my ego to begin my recovery, and I am so focused on the present and enjoying each moment. She has been blown away by the change. She calls me Scrooge because I am like him at the end of the book, movie, a kid enjoying life for the very first time. So, all this is wrapped up in the fact that she had to go against all of her morals to finally decide to walk away. Like many wise posters here have said, usually that type of intense decision is final. When an addict recovers and does a full 180 though, I think it messes with the mind of the strongest-willed women out there and why I think I may still have a shot. I look the same, but I am a completely different person. She just doesn't think she can get past the hurt of 20 years of a lonely marriage to get back to giving me another shot. And back to the OM, a small bit of insight. My wife is a workaholic university professor, psychology, doing 70+ hours per week. Like many profs, she is in burnout, and looks to meditation and mystical experiences to try to escape and make sense of it all. She is going on a 10-day meditation retreat next week. Liam is very similar in looks and age to me, has had a crush on her for 15 plus years, and is really into mysticism, meditation, paranormal. She obviously wants to flee to that, the same way she flees to mysticism to escape her oxygen-depriving career. Maybe I should just let it happen, go my own way, and if I happen to be single when her fairy tale explodes, try to reconnect. I carry a lot of guilt around right now, because while she is far from perfect, she is a person of strong moral character, and if I had been half the man during our marriage that I feel I am today, we would have no doubt made it through with flying colors. To be honest, I'd love to have her back, but with all I have put her through, I just hope most of all she ends up happy. She deserves it. I must say it has helped being on that dating site though, just to see how many women that are out there could make me happy. It burst the bubble I was in, thinking I could never live without her. I will be moving out in 20 days, and W will be gone for half of that on a meditation retreat in any case. My strategy from here until the end of the month is to be the ideal husband I should always have been. I wish to do this for 3 reasons. To practice and prepare myself for my next relationship. To make a small token of amends to W for the husband I wasn't able to be. To create a stark contrast for my absence next month, the only leverage that I have left I think at this point, to attempt to invite her to reconcile. I wanted to ask, with nothing left to lose at this point, is there a proposal I can attempt with her? Give up the OM and I will wait for 6 months to see if your marriage hurt heals. Or should I just move on? I am definitely fueled by guilt at this point to a large degree, but know I could love her in a way she never thought possible if she gives me the chance. She knows this too. My changes have been much beyond expectation to not believe that that would be the case. So, I confronted her last night and asked whether our separation was leading to divorce, reconciliation, or unknown. She said she considered it unknown. I told her I thought our relationship didn't have a chance. She told me she thought we did, but we need space and time away from each other before we could even explore that possibility. I then asked her about her intentions with OM. She told me she regretted ever calling him, but that she wouldn't cut off communications with him. She told me she would not be entering into any relationship in the foreseeable future, but didn't want to lie to me and make me think he wasn't a possibility. I told her that I was working hard on detaching and recovery, and had placed a huge stress on me that I had not anticipated. She said she was sorry for me, that she had been the cause of it, but that it was up to me now to let her go. She told me she was shocked at where we ended up, that she thought I would be drinking and numbing my way through to the move-out date, and that the house would have been full of anger the whole time. She told me she was grateful for the friendship, and that the last few months had been very special to her. I asked her why, if she thought I had turned things around so much, she wouldn't consider reconciliation. She told me that she had to respect the voice inside of her telling her she had had emotionally disconnected bonding with me too many times to jump back in, and that she needed time and space for healing, and she didn't know how long that would be. I finished by telling her that I would respect her wishes, even if I was unhappy with them, but that I would not be a plan B. I told her I hadn't done anything on it yet, but that I had joined a dating site. She understood that and offered only the reassurance that she wasn't going to jump into a relationship with OM, that it would be months, maybe years before she considered she would be in a space to do so. Regardless, she said I was free to do as I thought best, although hearing about me with another woman would make her sad. So, what next? My mind is spinning here. I am at work and can hardly think of anything else. I do still harbor a lot of guilt. If I had quit drinking years earlier, I could have given her a happy marriage, and she would not currently be separating. I am working on letting this go and showing myself some compassion. I need to look at the positives that I am over 100 days sober with no signs of slowing down, and am working on meditation and mindfulness to boot. At this point I have found hard evidence that suggests that although she is attracted to she has elected to take at least 3-4 months to work on herself. After that, she will reassess her situation. Her journal entries do not include anything about me, so I can only conclude that I am no longer a central consideration for her. She also told me that my initiating a kiss with her really changed her opinion of me. She felt very close, but when she realized I was going for a romantic overture she recoiled, and knew she has to put up boundaries. She even said that had I not done that she felt she would be far closer to a space where she could consider reconciliation. But that is water under the bridge. I have had a few lapses over the past few days, and she is currently angry with me for continually bringing up the I realize now that there is no point in doing so. I told her that I may need to initiate NC in order to get right in the head. She started crying but said she understood. She thinks of me as a dear friend, but nothing more. She told me that she wished she could love me again, but that the extreme hurt, neglect of my emotional absence will take a long time to heal. She told me there was hope, but she didn't want to give me false hope and told me she hopes I move on. She is leaving for the meditation retreat in 2 days. I am going to do my best to leave her with a positive impression. When she returns, she will help me pack up and I will move to my rental unit. My mind frame at this point is that I need to let her go. Just knowing this has made me feel much better, that I do not have to live in limbo. I'm also going to see a lawyer while she is away to prepare for our financial separation. Had an amazing day yesterday. I am so pleased with who I am becoming. I haven't felt so good about myself in years. We wanted to talk about how angry she was over the past 20 years, and how much grieving she had to do. Up until yesterday I would just apologize. Instead, I told her it wasn't that simple, that I was done being a pincushion and that I needed space to heal. She wouldn't back down and it led to our first argument in some time. She seems unable to take on any responsibility for the failure of the marriage, even as she is the one who ended it. I don't need any closure or apology from her. I am the alcoholic. It just seems as though she needs to come out of this smelling like roses. This is all very good for me. I feel the bubble I have been living in popping, and my head has been in a great space the last couple of days, despite the argument. I'm excited about the future. Living alone, decorating, renovating my rental property my way. It is a 3-bedroom century home with a ton of possibilities. Having the freedom to come and go for half the week. I know there will be loneliness, but there will also be as many AA meetings as I need to get to, as well as dating. I am going for my first date on Saturday. It was supposed to be a coffee, but after some texting she has already upgraded me straight to drinks. Now I am just wondering how I explain to her that mine will have to be non-alcoholic. I don't think I want to mention AA on a first date. My 99 has told me to go ahead and test the waters dating, but to take things very slow, and to avoid commitment for a few months at the very least. Now that I feel like I am detaching, I am wondering why the hell I'm going to Mexico as a family. I guess I still see was a good friend, but the love obsession is fading quickly. An update. My wife returned from a 2-week meditation retreat last Sunday, completely worn down, and I have been taking care of her since. As a result, we spent most of the week together. She has let down a lot of her barriers, but we still aren't back to where we were before I tried to kiss her at Christmas. The mediation retreat seems to have really had a profound effect on her. She is now saying that she feels called to the single life and wants to devote her life to indigenous mysticism. I think that is all well and cool, but I also think once the glow wears off from the retreat she will feel differently. I think this may also be code that she still needs a lot more time to heal before considering a relationship, with me or anyone else. I was supposed to move out a couple of days ago, but due to her burnout from the retreat she's really said nothing about it. Once she is better, I am going to take the initiative and move out on my own, rather than waiting for her to ask me. I am continuing the modified 180 due to my circumstances as a recovering alcoholic. I am focusing on me, giving her the emotional intimacy and care that she so clearly wanted during our marriage, but then withdrawing to go to the gym, AA meetings, meet friends, etc. She tries not to show it, but I can tell she doesn't want me to leave when I do. I've also caught her stealing glances at me, but I could be reading too much into that. I am back to my ideal weight, dressing better, and grooming myself to look sharp, much different than usual. I have told her my current plan, which I do not believe I have shared here. For the next 8 months, living on my own, I will be focused exclusively on work and recovery. I will remain sober, but also give up my nicotine, video game, TV binging, and porn habits. I won't become romantically involved with anyone, including W in the off chance she offers. I know, a lot to give up all at once, but I have been living without discipline for 2 decades, and if I can give up drinking, I surely have the discipline to give up the rest. The theory here is that I am intentionally discarding all the possible activities that would help me avoid dealing with the pain and discomfort I am in and learn to deal with my emotions head-on for a change. My free time will be spent reading, meditating, and renovating my new home. I own it. It is a historic brick 3-bedroom with a ton of potential. It will keep me busy. On top of everything else, I am feeling much more detached from W than ever. I still hold out hope for us, but it is no longer the heart-wrenching obsession it was a few weeks ago. I'd prefer a future with her, but also see the benefits and eventual happiness I would have without her. I told her at the end of the 8-month period, I will reassess my situation but will likely start dating. She doesn't seem to want me to do this and made a strange comment the other day that she wants to make herself indispensable to me so that I will opt out of dating. She has also once again has started calling me her best friend and told me she is just setting herself up for a lot of pain once I get into a serious relationship and have to detach from our friendship. My W may still be talking to the but at this point I don't really care, and I haven't bothered to check her phone since she got back from the retreat and won't be moving forward. I've asked her that I only wish to know if she intends to get into a relationship so that I can emotionally prepare. She has agreed to that, but doesn't seem to be moving in that direction, at least for the near future. My plan for contact once I move out is simple: contact her for all business affairs and let her initiate anything else. She has already told me a bunch of things she would like to do with me: help me plan my renovation, continue working on a public school program we are planning, etc. So I think we will still be seeing each other quite often naturally. Any advice here would be helpful. Am I going in the right direction? I feel pretty good that I am going in the right direction for me. I just want to keep my chances as high as I can for R if that is what I would still like to do at the end of the 8 months. I have read elsewhere that to live well and ignore her would be my best chance, but I think given my special circumstances as an alcoholic who emotionally neglected her, that would be a bad idea and only reinforce the vibes that caused her to walk away in the first place. I do worry though that she will get used to seeing me as a friend, and that might shut the doors to a future romance. Hopefully once I move out, I'll get the rest of the way there. The difficulty is that she walked away from the marriage because I was emotionally unavailable and did little to nothing to show her I cared about her. All I truthfully cared about was alcohol, and she tried several times to work that out with me, but I stubbornly refused to budge until it was too late. Now that I am in AA, meditating, and doing I see, I'm opening up emotionally in a way that she never thought possible. I guess you will say the same thing back to me, but I don't want to cut off the emotional closeness we've developed, considering it is exactly what she wanted out of the marriage. I guess the bottom line for me is this: move forward for me, go through the tough 8 months ahead without thought for the relationship, and see where I am at. At that point I may wish to reinitiate a reconciliation attempt, or who knows, maybe date other women. Maybe she will have decided to be single permanently or initiate a relationship with someone else. That's in the future though, so I need to put it out of my mind and live one day at a time, knowing the next few months will help make me the man I've always known I could be if I stay true to my path. Half of me is fully prepared to move on, but half of me still holds out hope. I guess you are saying the best case scenario for me lies in moving on and letting whatever happens in the future unfold without thought to it until that moment arrives. Tough, but doable. I have come a long way from where I was a month ago. Right now, for example, she seems to think that intense meditation will solve all of her issues, and that her issues are somehow unique to her. No doubt meditation will help, but there are thousands of spouses of alcoholics who are ready to help her understand a large part of her pain. For most of our marriage, I just told her practical solutions when she would bring up some sort of left-field idea. She would almost always go along, but never forget if my advice didn't work out. She won't listen to my advice now unless I am very humble about offering it, which, since sobriety, I have become much better at doing. Her meditation burnout is getting worse, and she has asked me to remain in the house for February. I told her I will be moving out as planned but will available as much as she needs for support. She is in pretty bad shape, an hour of shopping, and she needs to lie on the couch for the rest of the day when she typically works 65 to 70-hour weeks. I am in the process of moving out and have told W that I will be focused on nothing but recovery for the next 8 months. No romance, with her or anyone else, video games, binge watching, or booze, but I hope that is obvious by now that I am serious about that. I lived that life of pleasurable distractions for many years and they have left me unfulfilled. So figure I can do 8 months and actually learn to live with these hard feelings rather than numb them out through distraction. W seems impressed that I am willing to go that length but hasn't made me any promises about what she will do and whether she would be ready to consider then or ever. The end result is that I will be a much better man at the end of those 8 months, and only 44, so with or without her I will have a better life than I had in years. I hope it is with her, but my newfound self-respect is growing such that I'm now coming to believe that she will be losing out more than me if R doesn't happen. 8 months is a long time considering how much has changed in the last 4, so anything is possible. I could be fooling myself, but I think that the alcoholism and the 180 away from it may make my situation different than a typical walk-away wife scenario. So, a major update. As per my previous posts, I have been taking care of my wife. She has been very sick. She told me the other day that she is beginning to become emotionally close to me again and that she thinks she is setting herself up for more pain down the road. I left that evening to go watch a concert with my best buddy and had a coffee date lined up for the next morning. I phoned her before the concert to find out how she was doing and let her know I would be home late morning the next day. She told me she needed me at home as soon as possible. I told her I was planning on hitting an AA meeting to cover for the coffee date. She said she still needed me home. So, I then admitted to her that I had a coffee date with a pretty woman that I would prefer not to miss, and then of course she ripped into me. Why would you lie to me? I thought you weren't going to date anyone for 8 months. I told her that it really wasn't any of her business, but that as part of my detachment strategy I would be seeking friendships, but not relationships with other women, and that I was not currently under any obligation to tell her what I was up to. She answered sarcastically, "Oh, of course you want friendship with other pretty women." So I drove home that night instead. The next morning, she seemed angry with me, and I laid it all out for her. "You've been speaking with another guy that you seemed interested in, and not being fully open with me about it. Why do you care so much what I am doing?" She responded that she was not intending to be in any relationship with anyone, had thought that I wasn't either, or so she felt comfortable being close to me for the next 8 months. She started crying and suggesting that I should stop taking care of her and just go do my thing. I told her that although I did not feel in love with her anymore, I had deep feelings for her and that my priority over anything else was making sure she got well. We had conversation after that about the changes I have been making in my life, how amazed she has been, and how proud she was. The rest of the day went very well. This morning we went out together to pick up some used chairs for my new apartment. She made a comment that the chairs would serve me well in that apartment for many years. That got my back up, and I asked her why she seemed so concerned about other women that I might date on the one hand, and then make a comment suggesting I would be living in my new place for many years on the other. She then just kind of blurted out, "I am confused about where I am at with things, but I have been feeling lately like I might want to get back together with you." This kind of shocked me, as I was not expecting to be anywhere near this stage for several more months, maybe years, if ever. In fact, I can't even remember how I responded. We then took our dog for a walk and talked about entirely unrelated stuff. My current plan is this: quit any coffee dates altogether, keep spending as much quality time with W and supporting her through her illness as much as I can, but proceed with the move out and the 8-month plan I have. This is the right thing to do for my recovery, and also doubles down with her on how committed I am to cement the changes I am making in my life and give her own space. Anyone have any thoughts on how I should proceed with this? Now that she has brought up the possibility of do I play it cool and detached? What I think I should do, or pursue the conversation about it? I don't want to mess this up. I start to realize I'd be a plan B. I can say only this: I am in the IT industry and have had access to all electronic forms of her communications. There was an OM that she struck up a pre-EA with a few weeks after our separation. But she has had almost no contact with him for the past few weeks, except for one text where he asked if she could talk and she said no. I don't know what else to say, guys. My alcoholism and absence of any emotional connection was too much for her over time. I'm virtually positive this is a walk-away wife situation. I've been getting some mixed feedback around dating, so here is where I am at. My sponsor told me the following: if I replace alcohol with bonding before I do the painful work I need to do in my first year, I'll just be replacing one form of distraction with another, and it will interfere with my recovery goals. He didn't tell me I shouldn't go on friendship dates, but did hint I was playing with fire, especially since he knows I am aiming for R. It was my IC that suggested that I should go on friendship dates to help my detachment, although he too warned me that any physical or committed relationship I entered into now would be a rebound and might not be in my best interest. An update: I am still living at home. We've both been okay with this, but should be moving out by the end of the month. This is something we agree we both need, the space to heal and learn to live with ourselves as individuals before considering R. We're pretty much inseparable, spending all of our free time together. We went to Mexico as a family a couple of weeks ago, and although we slept in separate beds, we had a couple of beach walks holding hands and some musings about a possible future reconciliation. This morning, for whatever reason, the last couple of days I've felt her really opening up to me. She looked up at me and said, "What is going on with us?" I asked what she meant, and she replied, "Us. Where are we headed together?" My reply was, "Right now, my primary concern is my recovery. For the next 6 months my focus is becoming an integrated man, and the most emotionally stable, sober version of myself I can achieve. When it comes to you and me, I am straddling a seesaw. If I move one way, I could easily fall back in love with you. If I move the other, I will spend time detaching, grieving, and moving on with my life. If I had to choose, my interest is in you, but I won't be in a position to know exactly where I'm going to land on the seesaw until a few more months into my recovery." Her near exact reply was, "Impressive reply. That's pretty much exactly how I feel too." I then started rambling a bit when I think I should have done more listening. She then finished up by saying to me, "It just feels strange. We are supposed to be separated and I feel our boundaries are too blurred." I didn't know what to say here. "So, questions I have," was my reply strategically correct? It was certainly an authentic response. I just felt like I had a big opportunity there and didn't know exactly what to say. I also didn't know how to reply to her boundaries comment. And secondly, I am assuming I should stay the course, focus on my own recovery while pursuing our emotionally close but platonic relationship. I shouldn't try to force what appears to be her seriously considering R. The OM is virtually out of the picture. It is over a month since they texted and over 2 months since they had a phone conversation. As people have said, being in my particular relationship limbo is a special kind of hell, but I was, and am for the next few months, willing to accept it as part of the price of my alcoholism that has come due. What kind of person would I be if I just left this mess behind, as I could easily have done, without making an effort? The general advice is regarding walk-away wife was pretty much bang on. Only my own circumstances had to be adapted to demonstrate a growing capacity for emotional intimacy, a non-negotiable for her if we are to have hope for R. I am far from out of the woods on this, but the strategy of detached friendship and consistent personal recovery and sober support for her seem to be doing the trick. I just don't know what I should be saying when she opens the door to discuss our relationship. I know I can't take anything for granted but feel I have, so far, a firm grasp on my recovery. I have not had any cravings or been tempted with alcohol at all. Once I made my decision to quit for life, I have not turned back. I know one day at a time and I keep this in mind, but unlike many in AA I have no problem with the concept of never drinking again. I know most in AA are not like that, but I have met a few others that are. I am so disgusted with alcohol and what it did to me I cannot fathom or consider ever going back to it. Not saying that this was easy for me. I tried quitting several times without AA and that never worked. I have been wanting to quit for a long time, hit my big surrender moment, and accepted the huge changes that I needed to make. That being said, I agree that I still need time to work the steps and focus on my recovery before I try to jump back into the marriage. Although I am confident in my sobriety, I have a long way to go emotionally, spiritually. My comment: I could not figure out if your wife had an emotional affair before, during, or after your rock bottom moment and the start of your recovery. And it may not matter. I also gather that your wife has some issues of her own but not addiction. Make sure she does not treat you like a plan B, and you should ghost her and focus on another woman, or else you will start losing yourself.